Everyone loves to talk about how expensive New York City is, and they're not wrong. And it did get me curious about how much I actually spend in any given week here. So without changing a single thing, I tracked every single expense that I had in a week, from every single run to the coffee shop, subway rides, socializing with friends, everything, to find out how much I actually spend in a given week. So if you're curious, stick around. Let's talk about the rent. This is probably the one thing that everyone is the most curious about, and this is probably the one thing that everyone has heard the most about in general. You know, talking about the crazy real estate market that is New York. And yeah, this is by far my largest expense in any given week. So overall, I think I've mentioned this previously, my monthly rent is $3,400. And if you break that down, that's about $850 per week, which yeah, when you kind of put it into like numbers like that, it is kind of insane. Well, is this good or bad? Because it seemed good at the time, but it's been a while since I moved in, so I did a little research. And the average studio in Manhattan goes for $3,750, and the average one bedroom goes about $4,400. So at $3,400, I'd say that's not too bad. A little context regarding my neighborhood and the building itself. So I live in Hell's Kitchen, which is Midtown West. And this is actually where my first apartment was, and I decided to come back after a few years away and nomad. And honestly, I do really like this neighborhood. It's just really chill, it's very livable, it's fun. And the food here is also incredible, which I'll touch on later. All right, if you're interested in a little bit of Justin lore, this behind me is actually the first apartment that I ever toured here in New York. And man, it was tiny. Like the second bedroom, because it was me and my roommate at the time, literally, I don't think it could fit more than like maybe a twin mattress in there, and that was it. The building has quite a few amenities, and the ones I probably use the most is just like the common space and also the gym. We do have a basketball court, which is just wild to me. Like I've always seen these things, but I never thought I'd be living in the building that has a basketball court. And I'm ashamed to say that I really haven't used it as much as I should. I'm atrocious. So yeah. On the note of the gym, I do pay for another gym outside of my building gym. Actually, when I was getting rent, I got a special deal where all the amenities was waived for a year. So it's like free gym, so to speak, in the building. And now that I am back in the office 5 days a week, I kind of want to find a gym that's a little closer to my office. Also, I will say the building gym, it's nice, but it's lacking a lot of machines. So there are certain things I want to do that I just can't do here. So that is all to say that yes, I'm being a basic bitch, I'm being bougie. It's Equinox. Okay, I've been going to Equinox for a little while now, but I also recently upgraded it to the Hudson Yards location to be even more of a basic bitch. I don't know if it's worth it yet. It's really nice. It's got a lot of amenities too. I just don't know if I can justify the price. So weekly, it cost me about $100. I still have to stomach it. I don't know how long I'll go for it, but yeah. I'm about to say something extremely controversial. Maybe not controversial, but New York is the only really walkable city in the United States. I'm saying it. Yeah, I will die on that hill. I know there are other cities that are somewhat walkable too, but New York takes it to a whole nother level, which makes transportation really nice and really cheap because you can just walk most places, especially in Manhattan. You can get pretty much anywhere walking. Obviously going borough to borough, you might not want to walk. Fair. And that's when you get things like city bikes and subways and buses and all of that. And it's really not that expensive at this point. Yeah, it's getting more expensive. It's kind of annoying because if they're not using the money to fix things, why are they charging more? I'll leave that for another tangent. But when it comes to like getting to the office, I walk a lot of times. I will take the bus as well. So that's just like the subway, it's $2.90. So between bus and subway, I really only do it maybe about like 3 times in a week, max. So besides walking, subway, bus, I also do ride the city bike a decent bit. And it was something I avoided for a long time. Recently, I got back into it, and the membership is actually really affordable. It's $5 per week, and it gives you coverage to unlock, decreases the rates a little bit, and then you just have like the 20 cents per minute or something. It's a fast way to get around. It's a little more flexible, especially if you're going somewhere where there's not a bus or a subway line, and it's too far to walk. You can just ride a bike. So all in all, in a given week, I think I maybe spend at most $20 on transportation between, city bike and like subways and buses. That's it. I'm not really counting any Ubers or Lyfts or anything here because I really don't take them ever, or even cabs really. The only times I will do that is when I'm going to the airport, mainly because now I live a bit further away. So, okay, here's my little life hack. When you need to get to JFK, you get to the air train out of Jamaica, all of that, you can take the subway, sure. But you could also take the LIRR, go right to Jamaica. It's like $5 for a city day pass, all of that, and it gets you from Penn to Jamaica, and Jamaica on the air train over to JFK. You can get there within like 40 minutes, and I think it comes out to like $13, $14, which is so much better than the $80 to $90 Ubers. So, little life hack there. Getting back to it, walking is also a great way to stay in shape because there's a ton of really good food here. I know there's this perception for New Yorkers that we don't cook, but I will say a lot of us do cook because, you know, it's cheaper, it's usually a little healthier, and I think some of us actually enjoy it, like myself. So yeah, and also I do get that a lot of kitchens are smaller, so it's kind of hard to cook, but yeah, for me personally, I do try to cook as much as possible for the reasons that I listed. And you know, when I do that, I eat groceries. I used to live near a Trader Joe's, not so much anymore, it's kind of far. So a lot of times I end up just doing like Amazon Fresh, like grocery deliveries. Yeah, that usually comes out to, I can do about 2 in a month to kind of cover things, and probably comes out to about $100 per trip. So, you know what, just to edge up a little bit, I'll say it was about $60 per week on groceries. When it comes to meals that I'm not cooking, I try to limit it to just when I'm hanging out with friends or when I'm getting lunch. And you know, for lunch, I've also tried to get better at meal prepping, and that has been a big failure. So that's on me, I know. But when it comes to lunch, those meals are roughly around $12. So you do 5 times per week, that is about, you know, $120, give or take.
And it's insane.
And when I'm hanging out with friends, I'm getting a meal out at a restaurant, it's usually a little bit more. That might come out to about $20 on its own. So you can buy the groceries, the eating out, and also then, you know, just the meals with friends. That comes out to about $140, I'll say, per week. I don't have many vices in life, but one thing I do is coffee. And I will say, at least coming back to the office 5 days a week has helped with that a little bit. I think at this point it's no surprise that I love my coffee, and you know, as much as I wasn't happy about coming back to the office 5 days a week, one of the silver linings is that we do get 1 free coffee every day. It's actually good coffee. It's Stumptown Roasters, so it's solid, and you know, this has definitely helped in decreasing my overall coffee spend in a given week. But I will say, obviously, sometimes 1 isn't enough. Sometimes you need 2. Sometimes you need a cave. Sometimes you need to treat yourself, and you know, everything in moderation. Don't judge me. Sometimes everyone needs a little coffee out. After long days of work and a long week of work, you know, sometimes you need to just chill, relax, enjoy yourself, get some entertainment, go see some friends, socialize a bit. And of course, in New York, it's expensive. It's gonna cost some money. So I will say, at least for streaming services, I have Netflix, Hulu, Peacock, and also ESPN. I think that comes out to about $15 to $16 per week. Then, when you count about socialization, so by the way here, I am going to separate this just a little bit in the case of like for food, like if I'm getting food with friends, I'm going to put that over into more of just like the food category, and you know, if I'm getting drinks with friends instead, I'm putting that here. So when I'm getting drinks, you know, it can vary, depends on how hard we were going for that night, but yeah, on average, I'll say it's the price of 2 Guinnesses, roughly. That's kind of the average for me. And then also, you know, throw in some singles for pool. Let's say that's about $25-ish per week. Then, of course, there are random expenses that can happen in any given week. And for me, this week, it is getting a haircut because, you know, I gotta keep up appearances a little bit. And I am definitely looking a little shaggy. So, yeah, you know, there's a gambit here. Some places are more affordable, some places are really expensive. And I finally found a good place after I moved, and I'm very happy. You know, besides haircuts, you know, there are other expenses that just pop up randomly throughout a week. You know, it could be getting like cleaners for the apartment, or just other toiletries, stuff from the drugstore, or like just random, I don't know, I want to get a new light or something. I don't know, there's just random stuff that pops up. On average, I would just throw that out there. It's probably about $50 per week of just like random stuff that just comes up, and you know, the miscellaneous. All right, so now we get to sum it up. So drum roll, please. The grand total is, on average, I spend about $1,200 per week living here in New York. And that's a weird number to read out because on one hand, that's a lot. Yeah, But at the same time, you know, considering this rent too, it's not that bad. I don't know. Maybe I'm trying to cope this. I don't know. Did this surprise you? You know, did any one of these sections surprise you the most? You know, let me know in the comments below. I think for me personally, like, I knew I spent this money. Don't get me wrong. I think it's the gym. Just saying, like, I spent $100 per week on the gym, and like, what do I have to show for it? Like, I don't know. Maybe I have to go to the gym more. Yeah. But all in all, New York is a very expensive city, and you know, there's no sugarcoating it. And you know, of course, week to week there is a lot of variance, and it depends on where you live in the city and in your lifestyle. It's a big spectrum, but this is just what I spend in a week. And yeah, if you like this type of video, consider giving it a thumbs up. If you like more content like this, consider subscribing. And as always, thank you for watching.